Hi everyone, in this video we are going to look at something called responsive design. What is it? It means that basically I've got this essential graphics group here, there's a bunch of different things and they're all kind of connected to each other through this thing called responsive design position. It means what we're going to rig up is when I change the name, Carol is now called Jones. Can you see it expands both the box underneath and the logo tags along with it as well. That is responsive design in Premiere Pro. Let me show you how to set it up. Okay, so we're going to create that lower thirds. We're going to do it on this one here. It's co-working 3. See if you can find it. Give me on any of them. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to do it over the top of this one. And I'm going to go to my Essential Graphics panel. We're going to go to Edit. I'm going to add some text. Okay, and I'm going to pick a font. You can pick any font you like. This one's going to be called, she's called Carol Smith. That's not her name, but let's just pretend it's the name for her. We want to add it as a lower thirds. Okay, so I'm going to move it kind of down here. I'm going to make it right aligned. Can you see with the text? Just so that, you know, because we're going to reuse this. When it goes to the next person with the longer name, it's going to kind of push out from that side. So get it into the right position. So we're kind of like there. Enough room for our line underneath, and keeping away from the safe areas here. So that's going to be it. So I can just add a background, just so you know. You can add a background color, and that is the easiest way to do that because it actually expands with it. Okay, but that's not what I want to do in this case. Okay, so I don't want a background graphic. I want the little line that appears underneath, okay, that expands with it. So to do that, let's create the box. So I'm going to make sure the clip is selected here. Let's go to new, okay, with a little new one. Let's click on rectangle. Let's give it a name. Let's call this one underline. Okay, and let's shape it. Okay, you can, with it selected, do it here with scale. You can say unlink you and play with the height and width, or probably easier is just to actually, with your selection tool, click on it and just kind of drag it. Doesn't matter which way you do that. So I'm going to drag it so it's kind of lined up with it. There you go. So I want that to kind of expand and contract along with the text that's in there. Because at the moment, nothing changes. If she changes her name to like hyphenated Smith Scott, okay, it doesn't come along. So what I need to do is have the underline selected and to say, I would you like to pin this to not the video frame, but to Carol Smith, something else in my little group. Okay, so Carol Smith. Okay, so it has to be in the same Essential Graphics one. That's why we've added it to this original clip here. Okay, so there's 2 of them in here. We say align to Carol Smith. How? In this case, I want it to be the left and the right because I want it to stretch left or right. In this case, it only really needs to be left or right. Let's put both of them on. I don't know which one it is. So now she changes her name to, oh, make sure you click in here. Click in here. Now when she expands, she's now Smith Scott or Smith Olomu. That's how I spell it. Smithy. She could be Carol Smithy. Okay, can you see how it expands out? Cool, huh? That is that responsive design one. Okay, let's go back to this and let's say that we want to add that logo to it, but we want it to track this. So instead of like stretching, let's add that logo that we saw before. So again, I've got my clip selected. I'm going to add a new from file. It's going to be that same logo for that co-work. This is not a real company. I just whipped up that thing to make it feel like a real logo, a real company. All right, and what we're going to do is I'm going to select it. I'm going to get it in the right position and size. Now we're going to make this smaller. Okay, smaller is fine. In the last video we looked at vector. You can't make it bigger. It won't get blurry getting smaller. Okay, so you don't have to resize it in this case. So if you are producing the logo, just make it ginormous and you can resize it smaller as you need. So how big? It's just like a little hint down here. Get it in kind of the right spot. That's what I want. Turn the opacity down a little bit. There we go. So at the moment, it doesn't expand. Okay, so what you can say is you can say, I want the logo to pin to the Carol Smith or the underline. Doesn't really matter because they're all coming along for the ride. And I want it to attach not both sides, because if I do both sides like it did, okay, it will, watch this, see stretch. It's not what we want. We want to say just logo, I think just this left-hand side. Let's give it a whirl. So she goes back to, she's a breakup with Mr. Scott, and she's now back with Carol, just plain old Smith. Can you see? Comes along for the ride. Awesome. One thing we will note is Depending on how you've built yours, you might get pretty crammed to the bottom like mine is. What we can do is we can say, okay, the logo needs to go up a little bit, or up a little bit. Okay, then the underneath needs to go up a little bit. You could do it that way, but one of the nice things you can do is this kind of complexity over here has a purpose. A, to confuse us, and B, so that instead of just doing the position on individually, we can grab the whole vector motion, okay, and grab the position and say, actually go up a little bit. And it wouldn't matter whether you did it there or under your video motion position. Okay, it doesn't matter in this case. Just give a bit of space down the bottom. There we go. Nope, got my in and out point still set. That's why it jumped there. Okay, come back. Give me a little preview, please. All right, it just appears. Let's animate it. We're going to do a simple bit of animation and then turn it into kind of a template. So what I'm going to do is I want the entire thing to fade out. I'm not going to individually do this. You totally could. We've already done bits of animation on individual parts. So what I'm going to say is this whole clip, and remember, vector motion doesn't have opacity. We've learned that altogether. Okay, but under video, okay, under opacity, I'm right at the beginning. I'm going to say opacity on, set it to 0, come along a little bit and get it to pop up. And then before it finishes at the end, that seems good enough. I'm going to set another keyframe, okay, by hitting this little dial here. Okay, set keyframe. I'm not going to change it from 100% because I want it from 100 and stay 100 the whole time. But just at the last part here, jumped around. Okay, I want to set it to 0. So it's kind of like this bridge kind of goes up, stays at 100, goes down. All right, let's have a little preview. Plays along for a little bit and fades out. Positioning's not quite right, is it? Best get it right here before we go off. I think I did the position under motion just so that, because we're going to set it to a template. We don't have to adjust this every time. So get this all perfect how you want it. It's probably all going to need, at least Carol Smith is going to need a background shadow. Probably not that extreme. And Cowick is probably a little bit washed out for what we need. All right, so we've got it how we want. With it selected down here on my timeline, let's turn it into our very own motion graphic. Okay, so let's right click it. Okay, and we're going to say export as motion graphics template. Okay, so we've done all that animation. We want to be able to reuse it. We could just copy and paste it, totally fine. But we're going to export it as a motion graphics template. Okay, we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call this one my lower thirds for the project for Cowork. Okay, I'm going to put it on my local folder. You can send it anywhere you like. Okay, I am going to add some keywords. Nah, Cowork should get me everything that I need. Lower thirds. Click OK. All right, and we can now either just copy and paste this one. That totally works. If you copy and paste it and your source patching is on the wrong one, okay, I'm going to move it up to V2 so that it pastes on the right track. Okay, I could go through here and say, okay, this person here is not Carol Smith. This is, I don't know, Judy someone. Okay, oh, look at that responsive designiness. Or if I open up a brand new project, untitled, stick it in my delete me folder. I've got a delete me folder just to throw junk in that I know I can delete. I've already got one. New project. Let's bring in a bit of footage. And the old thing, color correction A is going to work for me. I'm going to make a new sequence from it. Okay, and I need the lower thirds, so I can go into my graphics essentials, go to browse. I'm looking under my templates, and I can type in Cowork. There it is there. There it is there. I can dump it in and say, cool, I can use this on this new project. Rather than trying to find the old one, open it up, copy and paste it. Okay, you've now got this to use forever. And it's all expandy. And you can go in through and switch the logo, turn it off. You've got that full control. And can you see now how sometimes when you're downloading, you're going to browse and you're looking at Adobe stock. Remember, some of them were editable fully and some of them weren't. It's because some of them were made like we just did, and some of them were made in another program like After Effects. All right, so that's responsive design in Premiere Pro. Pretty sweet little addition to the Essential Graphics panel. Let's get into the next video.